Coming up, doctors from 4 different countries who joined free clinics in Myanmar. We meet Grandma Yu Ye and see how Tzu Chi volunteers bring warmth and hope to her otherwise lonely life. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen. Liao. Thank you for joining us. Recently, doctors from Malaysia, Singapore, China, and Taiwan arrived in Myanmar to hold joint free clinics to help patients in remote areas get the medical services they need. These free clinics are the direct result of the Memorandum of Understanding signed between Liao Medical Center and the Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital back in March.
Before the free clinic begins, medical equipment is tested. Here today is an international medical team made up of members from Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore, and China.
We have internal medicine, surgeons, pediatricians, an X-ray technician, and dentists from Singapore.
TIMA's 49-member medical team conducted free clinics at the Liao Medical Center and an impoverished village in Tan Ta Pin. Many of the patients that showed up at the Liao Medical Center were suffering from cataracts.
Compared to the people we have seen in Taiwan, the condition of the patients here is much more severe. For example, usually for every 50 cataract patients, we see one mature cataract sufferer. Here, the number is over 40% of that.
After receiving corrective surgery, cataract patients look forward to living a normal life once more. Without this free cataract surgery, we would be at a loss of what to do. Your assistance has greatly benefited us. Finally, finding a cure to their ailments, these patients in Myanmar are also feeling the love from overseas.
Besides warming hearts of quake survivors, Tzu Chi volunteers' disaster relief efforts has inspired many people to put their love into action. At the large-scale free clinic and distribution in Bhaktapur City on May 24th, a Nepalese man and his Taiwanese wife joined the ranks of Tzu Chi volunteers. In addition to this couple, a Nepalese girl studying in the United States has also returned to Nepal and volunteered to help translate for the team of doctors.
After meeting Tzu Chi volunteers at the airport, Rama came to Tzu Chi service station to help serve the needy.
She saw us in our uniforms at the airport on our way to Kathmandu and thought we must be coming here to help the quake victims. Since she speaks English, she can help us with translation and other tasks.
After visiting her parents, 27-year-old Rama and her younger sister Manisha drove 4 hours to reach Tzu Chi service station. Rama is pursuing a master's degree in agriculture in America, but the recent earthquake brought her back to Nepal.
Thesis defense going on, and as soon as I saw all those videos and pictures, I decided, okay, I want to go back to my country.
Rama and Manisha were inspired by the Tzu Chi volunteers and the distance they traveled to be here.
I showed Manisha the master's picture and she cried. She said that she felt the master is taking on a tough challenge of helping so many people here.
The two sisters not only translated for Tima doctors, but also helped introduce Tzu Chi to more locals.
And our master cared for them very much. They show them the picture of the master.
Joining the Blue and White Angels, the two sisters are offering their help where and when it's most needed.
I think it's better to start whatever I can, whatever is in my hand right now.
Namaste, 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 namaste.
Bye.
Once a day.
I thought it would be an easy job, but my feet got very tired after standing for the entire morning.
Dr. Hong Qifeng reminds himself to maintain the correct mindset when carrying out every task.
When you lose your compassion, you lose your strength.
Another well-respected doctor, Dr. Luo Jun, is already 66 years old.
He takes on all sorts of tasks without saying much.
Dr. Luo worked to treat this patient's large bed sore.
因为工作中我们得到了欢
We
喜。
enjoy and nurture our compassion and wisdom from this work. I shouldn't say this as I don't have much wisdom.
不敢讲。
Among the volunteers is a husband and wife team. Luo Zhenmei, who's from Taiwan, came with her Nepalese husband.
I got a ticket and flew here to see if I could help. Then I saw the Tzu Chi flag here.
Affinities can work wonders, as her husband's hometown is none other than Parai Tzu Chi village.
接近印度的地方叫做 Puruli.
They're gonna make to the house in there around the 300, and after I know the Tzu Chi.
After I met him, I went to his hometown several times. He showed me the Tzu Chi memorial plaque. He got to know Tzu Chi early on as Tzu Chi built houses there.
20 years later, this former Tzu Chi village resident has joined the ranks of volunteers and thereby continues the cycle of love.
May 25th marked the one-month anniversary of the deadly 7.8 magnitude earthquake in Nepal. Although a month has passed, thousands of residents are still living in makeshift tents. Next to me, 39-year-old Lexi Divichusia Bhagat and her family are four, who have been living in hardship since the quake. However, the mother says she is hopeful about the future, because what greater blessing is there than to have your family safe and sound and by your side.
With a heavy heart, Lakshmi Devi Chusiabaga bravely makes her way to the place where her house once stood to see if there is anything left to be salvaged. Whether we saw it on the news or heard rumors, we were always warned about possible earthquakes. Although I always just smiled about it, I actually felt a lot of pressure. Worried about his mother's safety, Lakshmi's youngest son always tags along to make sure she is okay. The rubble beneath their feet was once part of their home. Bricks and straw which had fallen has blocked the opening to the window. It is what is behind the closed door, however, that has Lakshmi returning home once more, hoping to retrieve all the wheat and grain inside. What I want to do most, but cannot, is to live in our original home again. The family relies on these crops for their sustenance and livelihood. Grain that has fallen from the roof still sprouted amongst the rubble. Although our house is gone, we're still very fortunate to have our children by our side. A lot of families lost their children to the earthquake, so we are very fortunate that we still have each other. Seeing the resilient nature of these crops left Lakshmi in awe. Behind her, Lakshmi's neighbors stand among the mountains of rubble, clearing the debris, trying to rebuild. On the way back to the tent community, Lakshmi passes dozens of Nepalese soldiers clearing debris from collapsed buildings. Leaving her home behind and heading toward the temporary shelters, for Lakshmi, as well as many other quake survivors, the road home is now the same. A girl's singing and laughter here at the temporary shelter has brought smiles to many a face.
Our entire family used to live under one roof, including my uncle, auntie, cousin, and other relatives. We were all very close. We help each other out around these 10 communities. We work together without any problem.
The girl had just finished singing when suddenly a 4.4 magnitude tremor rocks the area. The family does not scramble to run as the ground shakes beneath their feet. Instead, they looked at each other knowingly.
If we were inside a building right now, there would be more of a reason to be afraid, as the building could collapse. But there's nothing to be afraid of now that we are staying in tents, so we don't have to run.
Holding up her son's school acceptance letter, Lakshmi remains optimistic and hopeful about the future. and the road to recovery begins with hope.
To make sure quake survivors in Nepal don't go to sleep on empty stomachs, Tzu Chi's disaster relief and medical team continues to provide hot meals in 2 tent communities in Bhaktapur and Kathmandu. Despite having to prepare nearly 3,100 meals per day, the volunteers still work tirelessly and without complaint. However, due to language barriers, the volunteers often have trouble communicating with local greengrocers when purchasing ingredients. How do they overcome this language barrier? We find out more in our next report. Every morning, Tzu Chi's disaster relief and medical team provides hot meal at the Swe Ambuna tent community in Kathmandu. Each meal consists of Tzu Chi's instant rice and locally grown vegetables. The volunteers hope the food can not only feed hungry stomachs but also warm hearts. To help boost the local economy, team members set out to purchase vegetables from local greengrocers. By using a rusty balance scale, the greengrocer makes sure the volunteers get exactly the amount of goods they ask for. The volunteers do their best to get their wants across using simple English.
Can you speak English? Yes. Oh, very good. We
buy this because we go to the camp, cook for all the victims. Okay.
This is 4 kilo, yeah?
这是4公斤。
And 5, 6.
慢一点, okay?
6, and this is 7.
Upon learning of the volunteers' mission, the greengrocer decided to give the volunteers a special discount. By purchasing goods locally, the volunteers hope to help the local economy recover from the deadly tremors.
Many people here are running small businesses. I think we should purchase a little from each of them, so all of them have the chance to earn some extra income.
I decided to become a kitchen volunteer after my trip to Tacloban in the Philippines. Before that, I hardly ever volunteered in the kitchen. Seeing the hardship Tacloban residents were in inspired me to shoulder the responsibility of a kitchen volunteer and to cook hot meals for them.
In Buddhism, the word shang means spreading the fragrance of virtue, while ji means amassing merit. Shangji volunteers, also known as kitchen volunteers, do their part to spread the Dharma through hot meals here in the birthplace of the Buddha. Next, we bring you the story of 80-year-old grandmother Yu Ye, who lost her husband and consecutively her son and daughter to illness 4 years ago. Overwhelmed by loneliness and sadness, the senior was unable to maintain her home and was living among piles of clutter. When volunteers learned of the grandmother's situation, they decided to help her rid her home of clutter and renovate her house. To reciprocate, grandmother Yu Ye now practices recycling every day.
Today, volunteers are paying 80-year-old grandmother Yu Ye a visit. Although she does not live in a big house, it is nevertheless well lit and cleanly maintained. According to the volunteers, the grandmother lost her husband 4 years ago and was left to care for her 2 ill children on her own.
When she lost her husband, she looked like she was about to collapse at any time. I cannot imagine how tiresome it must have been for a 78-year-old senior to have to look after 2 sick children all by herself.
At the time, the grandmother slept on the 2nd floor, and to get up and down the stairs, she would have to walk a very narrow staircase. This corner on the 2nd floor of the home is where the grandmother once slept at night.
She used to sleep here on this countertop. She'd place a piece of cardboard on top of the countertop and sleep here. It broke our hearts to see her living like this. Look, her clothes are stacked there covered with a piece of cardboard.
volunteers were deeply saddened when they saw the senior living in such hardship and decided to help rid her home of clutter. To make sure the senior no longer sleeps on the countertop, volunteers sectioned off an area in the living room for her to use as her bedroom. Losing both her son and daughter to illness, it has been the volunteers who have been by the senior's side all these years. The volunteers' love and care has lit up the grandmother's life and given her hope to embrace the days ahead.
Recently, the Tzu Chi Philippines chapter organized a camp for children from underprivileged families in Quezon City. During the camp, Tzu Chi volunteers not only taught good manners, but also introduced Jingzi aphorisms. Meanwhile, in Malaysia, students and faculty at the Xinhua Public School donated 6 months' worth of savings to help the less fortunate. At the Xinhua Public School in Malacca, 213 students and faculty are donating their filled bamboo coin banks to Tzu Chi.
It is hard for these children to donate a large amount of money all at once. Every week during the weekly assembly, I encourage students to donate a little of their pocket money to do good deeds.
After learning of the hardship many are currently facing from natural disasters, the children decided to donate 6 months' worth of savings.
I started saving from last year because the money will be put towards helping the less fortunate. Many disaster survivors don't have food to eat, so I want to help them.
9-year-old Chen Zihao donates money which was originally to be used to buy a cell phone. In the years to come, these seeds of compassion will continue to spread far and wide here at the Xinhua Public School. Meanwhile, in Quezon City, the Philippines, children wait anxiously for the Tzu Chi camp to begin. Before the class begins, Tzu Chi volunteers respectfully hand over snacks to students. Inspired by the volunteers' humble gestures, many thank the volunteers with a bow. During the Jingzi aphorisms lesson, a teacher asked students to draw a picture using a pen to remind them that there are many things in life that cannot be fixed with a redo.
Ano bang silbi ng lantern o lampara? Sige nga.
Para magbigay liwanag sa mga tao.
Very good, madali.
Students slowly learn to take these words of wisdom to heart. Prayer not only inspires compassion within the youngsters, but also helps them find a renewed sense of inner peace. Next, meet a 9-year-old young vegetarian who has embraced vegetarianism thanks to his grandmother and his determination to protect the environment. Guo Zhanchen has been living with his grandparents since he was 4 and joined Tzu Chi's musical adaptation of the Water Repentance Sutra with his grandmother in 2011. After learning about reincarnation and casual relationships, he became firm in his resolve to go meatless.
我们要修的话，就是要修什么不漏道，就是师公上人现在所讲的，就是我们每一个人都是要一次一次来轮回，轮回的话会很痛苦。
我阿妈就是告诉我。
My grandmother told me if we eat meat, we will be born in poor countries and no one can save us. I am afraid of being born in those poor countries in the future, so I don't dare to eat meat.
所以我就不敢再吃肉。
We know about cause and effect, and we should tell them about it. We should not assume that children do not understand. He is my little assistant. I'm very grateful as he's very considerate.
My grandma runs a vegetarian restaurant to encourage more people to adopt a vegetarian diet. Then animals don't have to be killed and can live very happily.
也是都是靠上人呐，还有我们。
I alone cannot influence him. The sisters at the Jingsi Books and Cafe and other volunteers have also been teaching him. In addition, we listen to the master's teachings together.
阿嬤来要拉他的话，也是蛮困难的。我们100年的时候又入经藏，要上人。
We joined the sutra adaptation in 2011. The sutra taught us to repent when facing retributions. He asked me back then, Grandma, the sutra talks about cause and effect, but we can't see hell.
那里面因果报，你说地狱，地狱就看不到。
我那时候还很小，差不多4、5岁。
I was about 4 or 5, and I accidentally cut myself with a box cutter. My grandma asked me to think about the pain of animals when they are being killed. I cried and thought, when the animals get slaughtered, their pain is much worse than my pain.
比我们痛好几百倍。只要吃的话，
If you eat meat, after you die, the animal will be born as a human and kill you.
好，感恩你哦。开这间店的话，跟你说，我们能够推广。
By running this restaurant, we can promote vegetarianism and can promote the master's teachings, go meatless, and help protect the environment.
能够民宿，能够救地球，能够环保。
刚回来台北要吃素的时候，有一点点。
When I first started a vegetarian diet, I was not used to it. Then I got used to it. Now I don't think about eating meat. The waste from cows, pigs, and sheep pollutes the rivers. With waste in the river, the environment will be dirty and smelly. Vegetarianism is good for the environment. I can also eat nutritious vegetables and become very healthy.
Since 2011, the Yuli Tzu Chi Hospital in Hualien, Taiwan, has been holding senior aerobic competition every year. On the most recent contest, more than 200 seniors showed up to show off their dance moves and to encourage even more people to take better care of their health. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.